The ship was a bargain. The alien girl hidden inside was priceless. Marcus Chen adjusted his worn flight jacket as he pushed through the crowded salvage auction on Titan Station. The air recyclers wheezed overhead, mixing the scents of engine fuel and unwashed bodies in the converted cargo bay. After 20 years salvaging derelict ships in the outer systems, he'd learned to spot diamonds in the rough, vessels others dismissed as worthless junk. "Lot 47, the auctioneer's voice crackled through failing speakers. "The Star Dancer, origin classified, found drifting in the Vega system." Marcus studied the holographic display rotating above the crowd. The ship's hull curved in impossibly smooth lines, like something grown rather than built. Strange symbols covered its surface, pulsing faintly with residual energy. While the corporate buyers focused on military haulers and mining rigs, they ignored this elegant vessel as alien scrap. His engineer's instincts tingled. The power core readings showed energy patterns unlike anything in current production. Those weren't battle scars on the hull, they were intentional design features. This ship was far more advanced than it appeared. "Opening bid at 8,000 credits, the auctioneer announced. A few half-hearted bids trickled in from small-time salvagers, but Marcus waited. Patience had kept him alive in the outer rim, where hasty decisions meant death or bankruptcy. The bidding stalled at 15,000, pocket change for the corporate representatives present. 25,000, Marcus called out, his gravelly voice cutting through the ambient noise. Heads turned. His reputation for transforming wrecks into functional vessels was legendary among salvagers. If Marcus Chen was interested, maybe there was something valuable after all. 30,000, countered a voice from the back. Marcus recognized the speaker, Helena Voss from Titan Industries, always hunting for military technology. Now it was getting interesting. Marcus had exactly 38,000 credits scraped together from his last 5 jobs. This was either genius or financial suicide. 40,000, he declared, knowing he was betting money he didn't have. Voss's representative made a hurried call, then shook his head and stepped back from the bidding. 40,000 was serious money for what most considered junk. Sold to buyer 91, the auctioneer announced. Marcus's heart hammered as he transferred his savings and arranged credit for the remainder, using his salvage yard as collateral. If this gamble failed, he'd lose everything he'd built over 2 decades. 3 hours later, he stood in the docking bay, staring at his acquisition. Up close, the Star Dancer was even more mysterious. Her hull seemed to shift color subtly in the artificial light, and those strange patterns weren't decorative. They functioned like circuit pathways grown into the metal itself. The airlock responded to his touch with a melodic chime. Inside, the ship was a blend of familiar and alien, recognizable systems integrated with technology that seemed almost organic. Walls curved at impossible angles, and bioluminescent strips provided gentle illumination. His scanner readings were off the charts. This wasn't just a ship, it was something far more advanced than anything currently in production. Sealed sections showed massive energy signatures, all dormant but intact. Marcus allowed himself a rare smile. He'd spent his career turning space junk into flying machines, but this was different. The Star Dancer held secrets that could revolutionize space travel or destroy him in the process. As he began his preliminary inspection, he noticed something his scanners had missed. Deep in the ship's core, behind layers of sealed bulkheads, something was drawing power. Whatever secrets the Star Dancer held, he was about to discover them. The ship hummed around him with an almost living presence, as if welcoming him aboard. Marcus had always talked to his ships, but for the first time he felt like one might actually be listening. Part 2. The Awakening. 600 words. 5 days of careful exploration had yielded frustrating results. The Star Dancer's main systems were functional, but locked behind biometric seals that didn't recognize Marcus's DNA. The sealed sections remained stubbornly closed, their energy signatures pulsing like slow heartbeats. Marcus wiped sweat from his brow as he worked in the engineering section, rerouting power conduits around damaged pathways. The ship's technology was a marvel. Systems that seemed to repair themselves, energy flows that followed organic patterns rather than mechanical. Logic. It was like working inside a living creature. "Come on, beautiful," he murmured to the ship, his hands dancing over crystalline control panels. "Show me what you're hiding." As if responding to his words, a new pathway illuminated on his scanner. Deep, in the ship's core, behind layers of sealed bulkheads, something was drawing significant power. Marcus followed the energy trail through corridors that seemed to reshape themselves as he passed, walls flowing like liquid metal before solidifying into new configurations. The path led to a chamber he hadn't found before, a circular room dominated by a translucent cylinder filled with shimmering azure fluid. Inside, suspended in the biogel, was a figure that made Marcus's breath catch in his throat. She was humanoid, but clearly not human, with pale lavender skin that seemed to glow with inner light. Silver hair drifted around her face like liquid starlight, and even in stasis, her features held an otherworldly beauty. She wore form-fitting armor that moved like living tissue, conforming perfectly to her graceful form. Warning lights began flashing as Marcus approached. The restoration work had apparently triggered the chamber's revival sequence. Bio readings scrolled across displays he couldn't read, but the universal symbols were clear. Whatever process had kept her in stasis was ending. The fluid began to drain, and the cylinder seal hissed open with a rush of vapor. The woman's eyes fluttered, not human eyes, but large and luminous, the color of deep violet with flecks of silver. She gasped, drawing her first breath in who knew how long, and her gaze fixed on Marcus with startling intensity. She spoke, her voice melodic, but in a language he'd never heard. When he didn't respond, confusion flickered across her features, followed quickly by wariness. She moved with fluid grace, stepping from the chamber with the controlled movements of a trained warrior. "Easy," Marcus said, raising his hands peacefully. "I'm not going to hurt you." Her head tilted, studying him. When she spoke again, it was in accented but understandable standard. "You are human." "That's right. Name's Marcus. This is your ship, isn't it?" Pain flashed in those violet eyes. "Was. Long ago." She looked around the chamber with growing agitation. "How long? How long have I slept?" Marcus checked his chronometer against the ship's dating systems, his stomach sinking as he calculated. "Based on your ship's logs, about 73 years. The sound she made was neither sob nor scream, but something heartbreakingly between. She staggered, and Marcus instinctively moved to steady her. The moment his hands touched her arms, they both froze. Her skin was warm despite its ethereal appearance, smooth as silk, but with an underlying strength that spoke of hidden power. Where they touched, he felt a strange tingling, as if energy. It flowed between them. She looked up at him, surprised by her own reaction to his touch. 73 years, she whispered. Then they are all gone. My people, my world, everything I fought to protect. "I'm sorry," Marcus said softly, and meant it. He'd lost people too, though nothing on the scale she was describing. "What happened?" he asked gently. Her eyes hardened. "War. We called ourselves the Luminari, children of starlight and cosmic harmony. But others saw only our technologies, our longevity, our connection to stellar energies. They came with fire and hunger. I was Lyra Stellaris, navigator prime of the Luminari fleet," she continued, wrapping her arms around herself. When our defeat became inevitable, the Council ordered a few of us into stasis, hoping we might survive to preserve our legacy." She laughed bitterly. "Legacy? What legacy remains when all who might remember are dust?" Marcus felt something twist in his chest at her desolation. This proud, beautiful being was utterly alone, the last of her kind, awakened into a galaxy that had forgotten her people ever existed. "You're not alone now," he said quietly. Lyra looked at him with those luminous eyes, searching his weathered face. "You are a salvage engineer, is that how you found me? I bought your ship at auction. I restore wrecks, make them fly again." He gestured around them. "Though this is way beyond anything I've worked on before." For the first time, she almost smiled. "You woke me by accident." "Seems that way. Best accident I ever made, though." The words hung between them, charged with unexpected meaning. Lyra's alien features softened, and Marcus realized that despite everything, species, circumstances, the impossibility of it all, he was attracted to her in a way that went beyond mere physical beauty. "Marcus Chen," she said, testing his name, "like a new flavor. Perhaps the cosmos has not abandoned me entirely." 2 weeks aboard the Star Dancer had transformed both their lives in ways neither expected. Lyra proved a quick study of current galactic politics and technology, while Marcus found himself learning about stellar navigation methods that made conventional astrogation look primitive. More importantly, the wariness between them had evolved into something deeper. "Your people built ships like living things," Marcus observed, running his hand along a wall that pulsed gently with bioluminescent patterns. They were in the ship's observation deck, stars streaming past as they traveled toward the outer colonies. "Everything was alive to the Luminari," Lyra replied, settling beside him on seating that had molded itself to accommodate them both. "We believed consciousness existed in all matter, stars, planets, the space between. Our ships were partners, not tools." She wore clothing they'd acquired at their last port, a flowing tunic that complemented her otherworldly beauty while remaining practical. Marcus had grown accustomed to how others stared when they saw her, though none could identify her species. The Luminari had been forgotten by all but the oldest archives. "Is that how you can interface with the ship's systems directly?" Marcus asked. He'd watched her commune with the Star Dancer's consciousness, her hands glowing with subtle energy. As she accessed functions no conventional pilot could use, partially, Lyra's fingers traced patterns in the air, and the wall's bioluminescence responded, creating dancing spirals of light. But also, because Dancer recognizes me, she was my bonded ship before the stasis. "Dancer?" Lyra smiled, an expression Marcus had grown to treasure. "Star Dancer was your name for her. Her true name is Harmony of Stellar Winds. She has been lonely, too." The ship's hum seemed to shift, almost like a contented sigh. Marcus shook his head, in amazement. "I've been talking to ships my whole career, but I never expected one to talk back." "You do more than talk," Lyra said softly. "I have watched you work, Marcus Chen. You touch machines with reverence, speak to them with affection. Perhaps you always knew they could hear you." Their eyes met, and Marcus felt that strange electric connection again. Over the past weeks, he'd found excuses to be near her, teaching her to use the food synthesizer, showing her how to interpret modern star charts, working side by side in the engine compartments. Each casual touch, each shared smile, had built something between them that transcended their different origins. The galaxy suddenly seemed full of infinite possibilities, and Marcus was beginning to understand what it meant to find home in another person's presence. Part 4. Battle and Bond. 600 words. "Marcus," Lyra said quietly, studying his weathered hands, his honest grey eyes, the careful way he held himself as if expecting rejection. "On my world we had a concept, soul resonance, the belief that certain beings, regardless of species or origin, carried complementary energies. When such beings met, their souls would recognize each other across any divide. She reached out, taking his work-scarred hand in her smooth, luminescent fingers. The moment they touched, that tingling energy flowed between them again, stronger now. I have traveled among the stars for 3 centuries before my stasis. I have known warriors and scholars, artists and leaders, but none made me feel what I feel when you smile, or when your gentle hands heal both machines and hearts. Marcus's breath caught. Lyra, you see me, she continued, not as an exotic trophy or a source of ancient knowledge, but as a woman. You mourn my lost people because you know loss. You show me kindness because your heart knows solitude. Unable to resist any longer, Marcus cupped her face in his hands. Her skin was incredibly soft, warm, with that subtle energy that seemed to flow through all Luminari. I never believed in destiny until I found you sleeping in that chamber. Then, perhaps we found each other, Lyra whispered. When their lips met, it was like touching a live wire. Energy flowed between them, not painful, but overwhelming in its intensity. Lyra gasped against his mouth, her hands fisting in his shirt as the kiss deepened. He could taste starlight on her lips, feel the cosmic forces that flowed through, her responding to his own life energy. They broke apart, both breathless. Lyra's eyes were wide, pupils dilated with desire and something deeper. "Is this wise?" she asked, though her hands remained on his chest, feeling his heartbeat. "Probably not," Marcus admitted. "But I stopped making wise decisions the moment I bid on your ship." Lyra laughed, the sound like silver bells in solar wind. "Then let us be unwise together." Their peaceful moment shattered as proximity alarms shrieked through the ship's corridors. They'd been orbiting a dead system while Lyra taught him advanced stellar cartography, her body pressed against his back as she guided his hands over the bioluminescent star charts. Now they scrambled for the bridge as 3 sleek pursuit ships dropped out of hyperspace around them. "Corporate interceptors," Marcus growled, sliding into the pilot seat while Lyra interfaced directly with the ship's sensors. "Titan Industries design. 6 more ships approaching from the asteroid field," Lyra reported, her eyes glowing as she communed with Dancer's consciousness. "We are surrounded." A communication channel crackled to life, revealing the scarred face of Helena Voss, her augmented left eye glowing red as she smiled without warmth. "Marcus Chen, you've led us quite a chase across 4 systems. Should have known Titan wouldn't let their prize slip away," Marcus replied, bringing weapons online. "Oh, we're not interested in you, salvage rat, though keeping the Luminari all to yourself was selfish." Her gaze shifted to Lyra, expression turning predatory. "Hello, beautiful. Ready to come home?" Lyra's features hardened into the mask of the warrior she'd once been. "I have no home among slavers and corpse robbers." Harsh words from the last repository of Luminari knowledge. "Do you know what your brain is worth on the black market? What we could learn by dissecting that pretty skin?" Marcus's vision went red. "You sick—" "Enough words," Lyra interrupted coolly, deadly energy building within her. "If you want me, come and take me." Voss grinned with anticipation. "All ships, attack pattern Delta. Try not to damage the cargo too badly." The battle was about to begin, and Marcus realized their love would be tested by fire among the stars. Part 5. New Horizons, 600 words. The first salvo lit up space around them as Marcus threw the Star Dancer into a spiraling dive toward the asteroid field. Her biomechanical systems responded with inhuman grace, plasma bolts searing past their hull as the pursuit ships gave chase. "Can you reach the weapon systems?" Marcus asked, wrestling with controls as another volley bracketed them. "Better," Lyra replied, her hands sinking into bio-neural interfaces that emerged from the ship's walls. Dancer still remembers how to fight. The Star Dancer's transformation was breathtaking. Her hull shifted and flowed, revealing weapon ports that hadn't existed moments before. Energy cannons emerged like flowering buds, and her engines took on a deeper, more primal howl. "She's a warship," Marcus breathed in amazement. "She was built for the Luminary Wars," Lyra confirmed, her voice taking on harmonic overtones as she bonded more deeply with the ship's consciousness. "I was her combat pilot. They spun through the asteroid field in a deadly dance, dancers' weapons reaching out to caress their pursuers with deadly precision. 2 interceptors died in the first exchange, their hulls cracking under the assault of weapons technology decades ahead of anything in current use. But Voss's forces had numbers and experience. They herded the Stardancer through the asteroids, forcing her toward a gravity well where more ships waited. A lucky shot clipped their port engine, sending them tumbling. "Hull breach in Section 7, Marcus reported, fighting to stabilize their flight. "We can't take much more of this." Lyra's eyes blazed with inner fire. "Then we stop running." She stood, her hands still connected to the ship's neural network by tendrils of living light. Energy coursed through her body as she drew on powers that had been dormant for decades. The air around her began to shimmer with barely contained. "Cosmic forces, Lyra, what are you doing?" "What I was born to do," she replied, her voice carrying the echo of stellar winds. "Dancer, full combat configuration, authorization, Navigator Prime Lyra Stellaris, Luminary Fleet." The ship's response was immediate and overwhelming. The Stardancer became a weapon of legend, her hull reconfiguring into something that belonged in nightmares rather than salvage yards. Energy crackled along her flanks as systems that had slept for 70 years roared back to life. Voss's confident expression faltered as her sensors registered power readings that shouldn't have been possible. The Stardancer struck like cosmic lightning. Her main cannon, charged with the fury of dying stars, reached out across space to touch Voss's flagship. The larger vessel simply ceased to exist, its atoms scattered across the void in a brief, brilliant flare. The remaining ships broke and ran, their pilots wise enough to recognize when they were outclassed. As the immediate danger passed, Lyra collapsed into Marcus's arms, the energy drained from channeling such forces, leaving her weak but triumphant. He held her close, feeling her heartbeat gradually slow from its frantic pace. "Remind me never to make you angry," he said softly. Lyra managed a tired smile. "You could never make me truly angry, Marcus Chen. You see my heart too clearly." 6 months later, Marcus stood on the observation deck of their newly established base, a converted research station in the Kepler belt. Through the reinforced transparisteel, he watched the Stardancer glide gracefully between the support pylons, her hull gleaming with fresh modifications that blended his engineering expertise with Lyra's luminary technology.